struggle with colouring and wish there was an easier way? Today I'm sharing a top tip to improve your colouring in a simple and fun way by using stencils. They really help you understand where to place colour. This video was going to be very long, so I stamped the flower from the Pristine Peonies stamp set. Aren't they beautiful? Look at those two sets of flowers. I love them. So I stamped it in black pigment ink, and then using the coordinating stencils I started to colour in the flowers. So for the first layer I'm colouring using pale mauve ink die set from Alter New, crisp ink dies, or crisp dye inks, whichever way around you say it. Always say it the wrong way around. And then I went in with the second layer using amethyst. And so I'll speed up the process for you, but essentially you can get layering stencils, there's 6 in the set, and you have them all numbered, so they're really easy to use, and you just pick the next number in the stencil set and you start stenciling. So going in with amethyst, now you could go in with a darker colour. You'll see that I'm using coloured pencils afterwards to create depth with this, so you could start with the darker colour. I actually didn't want to, so I stayed with that, and then once I'd created those 2 layers I decided to go in with the leaves. So I'm using bamboo crisp dye ink from Alter New on the base of the leaves, and once I've done that I'll go in with a darker shade of green to create the other layer. So this is the second layer. So again, you've got all the leaves all matching everything from the stamp set, which is brilliant. So this, as I say, there's 6 stencils in this set because of obviously the 2 flowers. So for this one I'm using olive crisp dye ink, and again I've sped up the process because I'm sure you know how to stencil. So that's what it looks like before we start colouring. Now we're going to start colouring. So I've got my Prismacolor pencils. I'll tell you the colours as we go through. And I'm pulling out the 3 colours that I'm going to use for the flowers. So they are black grape, black cherry and grey lavender. So before I start, I'm turning the sheet of paper over just to double check which of the 2 are the darkest, because I do get muddled up between black cherry and black grape. Black grape is the darkest. What this also does though is take the sharp point off the top of the pencil, so it makes it easier to colour. So what I'm doing here is using black grape to fill in all of the darker shades where I've used amethyst. I'm just going over that to create some depth. Now, as I said, you can use darker shades, so any of your sets, go for a darker ink pad to create more depth, so you can miss out this stage completely if you want to, but I really enjoy the colouring process, so I like to do it this way and keep it with a lighter colour. So I'm going over all of the areas that I've stamped in amethyst, and I'll speed up the process in a moment, but I just wanted to show you what I was actually doing. So I'm not touching really the other areas that we've used with the pale mauve. So it's just to give a nice base to work with. So I don't know if you're new to Prismacolors. I haven't been using them that long, but for me they took a long time to learn. There's techniques that you need to use. So for this, obviously we're just doing a normal colouring pencil type of technique, but when you're starting to blend the colours together, you need to work in different order. So you'll start with your darkest pencil, then you'll go to your mid-tone pencil, and then you'll go to your lightest pencil, then you go back to mid-tone, then back to dark, and keep repeating the process. And the real key to colouring with these Prismacolors, what I've learned is that you need to keep doing layering after layering, so it's not a quick process. So if I want to do a quick card, I will turn to my artist markers or some watercolour. I won't use these. I use these when I'm really in the mood for colouring and I want to just spend some time relaxing, listening to some music while I colour. So they're not for the faint-hearted. They take a bit of time to learn, but what actually happens once you continue doing this layering, over time you'll start to create real depth of colour, and then when you get to the last layer you burnish the colour into the paper, and that's where you then find it's set. You can't really do much with it. So although it might look like I'm pressing quite hard with these pencils, I'm actually being very light in the pressure that I'm applying. Otherwise I'll burnish into the paper and I won't be able to actually add any more layers onto it. So all I'm doing here is going in with the next colour, with the black cherry. I've obviously done all of the base colour, and I'm just dragging in some colour from the bottom up to the top over that dark colour that I've laid down. And then in the divots, which I think people call them, I'm just adding in a few little lines to make it have a bit more texture, to make the petals have a bit more texture. You'll see I spend a bit of time blending on this area. I wasn't very pleased with how I'd done it, so I do spend a bit of time blending with that greyed lavender to try and change. I did a few too many lines, so I'll just keep going in and playing around with that for a moment. So all I'm doing is layering that colour, bringing in, I've started with the dark, I'm then bringing in the mid-tone, so the dark was the black grape, I'm going into the black cherry, and then I'm just playing around, constantly layering one layer after another until I'm happy with the effect that I get, and then I move on to the next petal. I know Prismacolors take quite a bit of time to use, but they are one of my favourite colouring mediums. What's yours? Share in the comments below. I'll pop some music on while I colour. For the leaves, I'm using olive green, apple green and chartreuse. before we move on to the next step, take a quick second to hit the subscribe button under the video, then click on the bell so you don't miss another exciting tutorial. Now the flowers and leaves are finished, I'm moving on to do dark umber pencil for the flower centre. To make up the card, I die cut 2 Pristine Peonies from the Pristine Peonies die cut set, and I'm gluing these together so that I can stick them behind the coloured image and create an almost chipboard effect, so stacked dies. So I'll speed up the process, and I'm just making sure that that's really well attached. It can be easy to have little bits of it sticking out, so I do take my time. I use a glue that's movable so that I can make sure it's really well stuck down and there's no white showing from any die cuts underneath. I then pop out any little extras, so you see there's a little triangle in there, so I just pop that out and I'm just putting it to one side. Next I take out a clean white card base, and I have used the textured burlap die. I think that's the name of it. I will put the proper name in the info for you. I always get it wrong. I don't know why I want to call it something else. So what I did is I cut it. It comes in one piece. I cut it in half and then offset each of the 2 halves across the card. It's a purple, just a purple cardstock that I found, scrap of purple cardstock. So then I'm attaching the flower stack dyed image onto that card base, pressing really well, because sometimes I find the textured burlap can take a bit of time for things to stick to it. Maybe that's just me. So I'm just making sure that I'm pressing it down really well. This is just a tool that I use. I'm not sure what you call them. I got the idea from a video done by Therese Calvert, who's on the Altenew design team. So you check out her video for how to make it. So using the Hello and Hugs die set, I've die cut purple hugs in shadow die and gold glitter cardstock for the normal text die, and then I'm layering those up and then I will attach those to the card base. I've added some sequins and that completes the card. I hope you like it. I hope you found it useful, learning a different way to build on your colouring skills, and you'll find more over on my blog. This is one of 3 cards that I've created for an Altenew challenge. Here are the other 2 cards. Remember to subscribe to my channel for more tips, techniques and tutorials, and I'd absolutely love it if you like, share and comment.